What happens if you feel someone has bullied you, harassed you, abused the supervisory authority? In the first instance, the university encourages some sort of informal options. Now, that might not always be appropriate. If it's something that's a little more serious, well then, no, informal options aren't appropriate. And sometimes it can really help to have someone to talk to sound this out. What are the options? What's the outcome you want? Who to talk to? You could talk to me in my role as a mediator, just an individual conversation. We can go through what's happened, how you're feeling, what you want to do about it, and I'll know some of the options available to you and we'll talk that through. Alternatively, Ray, one of the other HR staff, can talk it through with you as well. So, the advantage of talking to another person is that this brings a different perspective. You know how you feel about the situation, but for someone to stand outside and give a bit of objective input is really useful. In terms of the informal steps, well, that could involve a discussion with the person involved. Very difficult sometimes if you're involved in a conflict situation or you feel someone's bullying you, harassed you. It's not always that easy to front up and have that discussion with them. Again, you can come and talk to me and I can help try and work out what's the best way to have that conversation to allow you to be heard, to get your perspective across and allow that conversation to remain constructive. It might be that instead of doing that, you want to involve a third person. That could be your manager or your head of department or some other senior colleague who could help try and problem solve. The other option is mediation. And there is quite a section in the policy that talks about the mediation process. Now, what that provides is an opportunity to sit down with the person involved and talk through what's happened, but this provides a safe forum. Me as the third person in the role of mediator would be helping facilitate a conversation in a way that's managed appropriate. It's a confidential process, and the advantage of that is that it allows for frank conversation. It means that you're not going to go outside and be talking to other people about what happened. It's just the opportunity to clear the air, talk through perspectives, and try and problem solve. It's a voluntary process. You don't have to do it. At any stage during the mediation, if you decided you didn't want to go ahead, you can stop. Or say, I just need to have a break. Actually, going back a little bit with mediation is that generally it's a helpful thing for the mediator to have a conversation with the participants involved individually first, because that helps the mediator get an idea of what are the issues, helps plan the mediation, and it also helps the individuals involved to know who the mediator is and just build up a bit of confidence in the process. One of the things to remember is the mediator is not HR. Quite distinct, just completely standalone at the university. And that really is important because I think people tend to get a little bit worried that if it's part of HR, it's a formal process that's going to go on people's records, outcomes are going to be recorded against a person's name. It's not. It's just completely confidential and distinct. So going back to that joint mediated meeting, that is the opportunity to invite each other to share perspectives, because whilst you know what's happened and how you're feeling about what a person did, they too are bringing their own perspective about what they did and why. So this is a respectful discussion where you share those perspectives with a view to problem solving, trying to work a way through that to problem solve with the goal of a more constructive, respectful and ethical working relationship. And it does happen. At the end of it, you can also decide who needs to know about this, who needs to know about the outcome of this mediation. And it may be that the head of department gets a record of what you agreed. So that's the informal side of things. And again, as I said, talk it through with HR or me to decide whether or not that's the appropriate way to go. The more formal options are for, that is in the policy, the formal options for if it's a staff member, you might want to have formal complaint. The process for that is outlined. and the Director of Human Resources would usually nominate someone mostly internally, a DHRM, or on occasionally a person external to the university to investigate the complaint. And it's probably quite helpful to go to someone from HR to actually find out the actual processes for that. In terms of if it's students who you think have breached the policy, the proctor. And he does the same thing. He'll investigate the complaint. There's also mentions in the policy the Human Rights Commission and also under the Employment Agreement or the Employment Relations Act. One thing I would really say, whatever you decide, whatever's going on, get in early. The workplace is a significant part of our life. And when things start going wrong, when you feel like you're being harassed or bullied, it is very important to recognise the impact this has on you, on your well-being, emotional and physical, but also the team. It can have an effect on the team and the team's reputation if things start going wrong and there's allegations of bullying and harassment and it's getting spread further and further around and it's not being dealt with. So early intervention, pick up that phone, ask for assistance, talk it through, what are your options? No. I do have to report at the end of the year on the ethical behaviour policy, and I'd just be talking about the number of mediations and the types of issues. So it would be a workplace conflict or whether or not it was a bullying allegation. So no identification of participants or departments involved. That's for the participants to then go back and decide what they need to do. And there may be some discussion about that, whether or not they have to talk to someone from Human Resources.